The old man aimed the gun at the man, but didn't pull the trigger. Instead he made him take off all his clothes. The man was unwilling, but with no other choice since the other party had a gun in hand. He could only do as the old man demanded. When the man was down to only his underwear, the old man casually pointed in a direction, telling the man to keep walking straight in that direction. However, after only a few steps, the man couldn't take it anymore. But what responded to him was the old man's cold gun barrel. The man didn't dare to keep complaining, and could only walk barefoot straight ahead. At this moment the temperature had already reached 40 degrees. The man hadn't walked far before he began to feel dizzy. Now he deeply regretted that he shouldn't have acted as the old man's guide out of greed. Not only did it cause his grandfather to be mistakenly killed, but he himself was also about to be silenced. The man was deeply unwilling to accept it, but in the desert there was nowhere to hide. The old man was still continuously watching through the binoculars, and he really couldn't think of how to stay alive. Suddenly the man remembered that his grandfather had a small hut nearby, and there should be some supplies inside, so he hurriedly ran in the direction he remembered. At this moment, the old man who was watching from a distance saw this scene, and thought the man was making a final struggle, so he didn't care. But just as the old man turned his head to drink water, the man suddenly jumped into a deep pit, disappearing from the old man's line of sight. Then, relying on his memory from years ago, the man found the hidden passage to enter the house. The man had no time to think and directly crawled into it. Immediately after, he kicked the supporting wooden board with force, trying to bury the hole, but just then he heard the roar of a car engine. The man realized he had already been discovered. Listening to the increasingly closer roar of the engine, the force in his legs grew heavier, because once the old man caught him again, it would be nearly impossible for the man to survive. Fortunately, the wooden board was not very sturdy. Finally, the hole was covered before the old man arrived. But what the man didn't expect was that the lingering dust actually drew the old man's attention. He stared at the entrance for a long time. Suddenly he seemed to think of something and immediately drove away. At this moment the man had already crawled to the end of the tunnel. He forcefully pushed away the plank and climbed into the house, starting to look for usable supplies. Soon he found a kettle on a metal barrel. Even more fortunately, the man also found shoes and clothes in the house. He finally didn't have to stay nearly naked anymore. Then the man took down the map on the wall. He swore he would make the old man pay the price. However, just then, the man was shocked to discover the door was slowly opening. He realized the old man had found him.